Now, switching gears, due to the current economic downturn in the country, staff layoffs is said to be on the rise. Some HR professionals said that this could lead to litigation and lose staff morale if not handled properly. Now, how best can organizations manage downsizing in a challenging economic situation? Earlier, we spoke to Opeyemi Awoyemi, co-founder of Jobberman.
Well, it's been quite significant. They pretty much started late last year. And they started with the oil and gas companies looking at how 2016 was going to be for them, especially looking at the fact that crude oil prices had really dropped. Then it moved on to affecting other parts of the economy. We've got the telcos doing a lot of downsizing, even in manufacturing, even e-commerce. We've been studying that trend at Jobberman, and we discovered that at least around 100,000 jobs have already been cut, even in the last 2 months, with some companies cutting as high as 8,000 people off their workforce.
Now, it's also been said that when a company decides to downsize, go into job cuts, it has to be done properly.
Yes.
There are probably legal issues involved. So, are we seeing cases of litigation, or how are we seeing a case where companies are running into that issue of litigation?
Well, yes, companies do run into that a lot, and I guess it has to do with the way at which they go about this downsizing. The thing about it is downsizing is something that sometimes we can avoid it happening. Right, and when it is done, human resources professionals need to do it in a way that it's humane and it's pragmatic. From the fact that there has to be open communication to those who have been downsized and to those who have been left in the company. There's also the part of also making sure that those who have been downsized get the necessary benefits that they are supposed to get. They should not be robbed, quote unquote, of any of their benefits. There's also the part of trying to see how to assist them to get the foot out there even after they get out of the job.
Okay, we'll come to that, how you help those who have been disengaged. But let me ask you this. From what you've discovered, are companies actually downsizing in anticipation of being affected by the economic downturn, or those that are downsizing are actually doing that because they're actually experiencing the economic downturn?
Well, I guess it's mixed. Some are already experiencing it. Of course, that can be evidence from their P&L, and some are just preparing for the trying times, as I'll put it, of 2016. And I guess at the end of the day, companies have to just look at what fits them to see whether you are bloated and you really need to cut down some of that flesh, or it's just that you're just trying to kind of improve your P&L, understanding that not much more money will come in out of 2016 for the company.
And I suppose this would also, could affect staff morale. How does a company avoid that?
Well, the best way we advise our companies to avoid that is by open communication. If it's something that needs to be done, it needs to be done, communicated clearly why it's been done and what has been put in place to do it in a humane way. Because the people who are going out, as much as possible, they are still friends, colleagues to those who are staying. They also go to competitors. Sometimes they also go to become employees of customers, and they all discuss. And I think if it's communicated, if this downsizing is done in a very open way, communication is done in an open way, it will help staff morale. Staff will know that, okay, I'm not being downsized, I'm here to work. The people that are downsized were downsized for a particular reason and were not witch hunted or for any other illegal reason.
I was just going to come to that. As a recruitment expert, to what extent does someone who has been laid off, not because they weren't performing at their jobs, but simply because they just were unlucky and they had to go, to what extent does it hurt their chances of getting another job, perhaps in similar or even higher positions, if they have to tell their potential new employers that they were laid off? Does that do they leave with a dark cloud over their heads based on that?
Yeah. So we've seen some very wonderful examples of where companies who have downsized have written glowing recommendation letters for the staff who were downsized, and that's one of the things we kind of preach. If you are downsizing,
so do you recommend to companies to do that for those employees?
Exactly. Exactly. We recommend them to do that because these staffs were downsized not because they were not good, but because the company just needed to get a little bit leaner. Right. So with recommendation letters, you'll be able to solve that problem of people getting that negative feeling that they were downsized.
Okay, but how difficult is it now? We know that the job market is quite saturated, and we have more, being pushed out, out into that same job market. Is it easier for someone like that to get a job ahead of someone who hasn't gotten a job before, obviously perhaps based on experience and being in the industry?
Yes, it's easier actually, and that's one of the reasons why we set up on our outplacement practice, because we discovered that these people that have been downsized have gotten some world of experience from these companies, and as such, they might be fit for smaller companies who can afford the pay that where they were earning at those big companies, but can offer them a pay cut, and of course get to gain from that world of experience that they're bringing from those bigger companies that are downsizing. So yes, they're better employees in some cases. Okay,
in terms of skill set, do you see an improvement? I know in your experience you've met countless candidates seeking different positions. The companies have expectations, the would-be employees also have expectations, but obviously there's a general acceptable standard in terms of the skill set matching a particular position. Do you see skills improvement? Do you see potential employees upping their skills, or just coming out and just hoping to get a job?
Well, what we've seen is the fact that they basically just come out hoping to get a new job, and that's one of the places where we come in. We advise them, help them look at the skill sets that they currently have and upskill them where necessary. If there are some who can take transferable skills and use those skills in other industries, we also advise them in that regard as well.
That was Opeyemi Awoyemi, co-founder Jobberman.